something about the JonBenet Ramsey case never sat right. The ransom note, the chaotic crime scene, the picture-perfect pageant child found murdered in her own basement, it all felt surreal, like a made-for-TV movie gone horribly wrong. For nearly 3 decades, the world speculated, theorized, and argued endlessly. Families, investigators, journalists, and true crime enthusiasts tried to piece together the puzzle. But now, after decades of silence, new forensic breakthroughs and a chilling confession have finally unveiled the truth. And what it reveals is not just shocking, it's darker, more twisted, and far closer to home than anyone could have imagined. For years, the JonBenet Ramsey case seemed stuck in limbo, cold, unsolved, yet never forgotten. Investigators chased dead ends, journalists combed through every detail, and online sleuths attempted to solve the impossible. Yet, the most critical evidence lay quietly in the background, the DNA. It waited patiently for technology to evolve. In 2023, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, in collaboration with a private forensic genealogy lab, revisited trace DNA found on JonBenet's clothing, samples once dismissed as inconclusive or contaminated. Using advanced techniques such as next-generation sequencing, NGS, and probabilistic genotyping, they isolated a male DNA profile that had never been properly analyzed. When the profile was run through genealogical databases, similar to the method used to catch the Golden State Killer, the results stunned investigators. A familial match pointed to a former Boulder resident in his late 60s, a man who had somehow evaded suspicion for decades despite a disturbing criminal history. He wasn't a stranger to the Ramseys, he had worked for a company contracted to perform minor repairs at their home just months before the murder. At the time, his record appeared relatively minor, with dismissed charges and sealed juvenile offenses. Then came the revelation that shook the nation: the suspect confessed. Not in a courtroom, not in a press conference, but during a recorded interaction with an undercover operative posing as someone connected to the Ramsey family. Over months, he had developed a warped obsession with revisiting the case online, posting under pseudonyms, and interacting with true crime communities. His ego, or perhaps his guilt, eventually pushed him to speak. His confession, combined with the DNA evidence, painted a horrifyingly clear picture: this was no random burglary. He had watched JonBenet, studied the family's routines, and waited for the perfect moment. On that night, he allegedly entered through the basement window, long dismissed by police as irrelevant, and remained hidden until the household went to sleep. According to investigators, the suspect claimed he hadn't intended to kill JonBenet. He had brought duct tape, cord, and a stun gun, items he admitted to using. Yet he described her death as accidental, a kidnapping fantasy gone wrong. The confession is disturbing, full of contradictions and justifications, but the forensic evidence confirms his responsibility. Even the infamous ransom note, once thought to be a diversion, contained fragments of his DNA. Microscopically, trace DNA on the paper and adhesive matched the suspect. The note, theatrical in tone, now reads as the ramblings of a delusional individual rather than a panicked mother covering a crime. For decades, public suspicion hovered over the Ramseys. John Ramsey, now in his 80s, said, "We never stopped hoping for the truth. It came late, but it came." Burke Ramsey, JonBenet's older brother, has remained silent, but sources close to the family report they feel vindicated and shattered at the same time. To truly grasp the horror, we must step back into the Ramsey home on Christmas night, 1996. The 7,000-square-foot house, decorated for the holidays, was filled with laughter and cheer, until morning brought tragedy. The family had returned from a holiday party. JonBenet, dressed in a velvet red outfit, had fallen asleep in the car. Her parents carried her upstairs and tucked her into bed. That was the last time they saw her alive. By 5:52 a.m., Patsy Ramsey was on the phone with 911. Her voice was high-pitched, frantic, filled with panic. At the bottom of the staircase lay a 3-page ransom note demanding $118,000, coincidentally almost exactly John Ramsey's year-end bonus. The note warned the family not to contact authorities and was signed with the cryptic pseudonym SBTC Victory. Police arrived within minutes, but the scene was mishandled. Friends and neighbors wandered freely through the house. Key areas were not secured. Evidence was touched, moved, and possibly destroyed. For hours, JonBenet was considered a kidnapping victim, until John Ramsey went into the basement and found her body around 1 p.m. She lay in a small alcove known as the wine cellar, bound and gagged with duct tape, a broken paintbrush cord around her neck acting as a garrote, and her skull fractured. The autopsy revealed both injuries could have been fatal, sparking debate about what occurred first. No forced entry was evident. A basement window had been broken, but John Ramsey admitted he had broken it months earlier. Oddly, a small suitcase was positioned under the window, as if someone had used it to climb out. A bowl of pineapple was found on the counter. JonBenet's fingerprints were absent, but Burke's were present. The coroner determined she had eaten pineapple shortly before death, possibly after the party, possibly during a late-night kitchen encounter. The chaotic scene, once suspected to be staged, now aligns with the DNA evidence pointing to an intruder. The basement, long a source of speculation, was the real crime scene. The ransom note? The work of a disturbed man attempting to mislead and justify his actions. From the moment JonBenet's death became public, the world latched onto the story, not with sympathy, but with suspicion. The Ramseys were scrutinized relentlessly. Patsy, in particular, faced accusations from her 911 call, her handwriting, and even her makeup during interviews. Analysts dissected her every word. Burke Ramsey, JonBenet's 9-year-old brother, was also drawn into speculation. Theories emerged suggesting he might have accidentally harmed JonBenet, with the parents allegedly covering it up. These theories snowballed, amplified by documentaries, books, and forums. In 2016, a CBS special even claimed Burke could have been involved, prompting a $750 million defamation lawsuit, which was settled, though the public damage remained. Other false leads included neighbors, acquaintances, a housekeeper, a local electrician, and John Mark Carr, a Georgia schoolteacher who confessed in 2006 but whose DNA didn't match the evidence. The media sensationalized these claims, and the internet became a permanent, unsanctioned investigation hub, from Reddit threads to YouTube channels dissecting every detail. Yet, amidst all the speculation, the true perpetrator had remained invisible. Evidence was incomplete, the scene compromised, and the story too strange for any single theory to hold. People filled the gaps with the most convenient suspects, the family themselves. The man who confessed didn't show remorse. Psychologists describe him as a compartmentalized predator, outwardly ordinary, privately monstrous. He had spent weeks watching the Ramsey home, memorizing routines, and fixating on JonBenet. She became an object in his mind, not a child, not a person, but something to possess. This was premeditated. He didn't bring a gun. He brought cord, duct tape, a stun gun, and a pre-written note. He wanted to leave behind a puzzle, a trail leading nowhere, a performance designed to baffle investigators. Experts say this level of fantasy-driven crime, especially involving a child, is rare and terrifying. The psychological impact extends far beyond the direct victim. The family endured years of public vilification, suspicion, and grief made performative. Authorities now suspect the man could be linked to other cold cases with similar patterns. His narcissism, obsessive behavior, and sexual deviance, combined with decades of suppressed urges, created a dangerous storm that culminated in JonBenet's murder. The killer has been identified. DNA matches. A confession exists. But no formal charges have been filed. Legal sources indicate the DA is preparing the indictment, potentially including additional crimes. Meanwhile, the man remains under surveillance, free but watched. For the Ramsey family, the toll has been immense. They lost a child, their privacy, and their peace. Public suspicion turned into vilification. Defamation suits, especially concerning Burke, continue. While the truth brings relief, the scars remain. Justice has arrived, but decades too late. Monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes, they live among us, hidden in plain sight. In this case, the man who shattered a family's world went undetected for nearly 30 years, until forensic science finally exposed him. Now, the truth is known. The DNA, the confession, and the man behind the mask confirm what many hoped but feared to know. For JonBenet, justice came too late. For the family, healing is ongoing. And for the world, this case serves as a haunting reminder: evil can hide behind the most ordinary faces. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started.